Imagine breathing air so toxic that a single day is equivalent to smoking 2.5 cigarettes. The image you see here, ladies and gentlemen, isn't from a dystopian future. It's the reality for millions in our country today, including newborn babies and elders that are breathing this air. The air pollution here isn't just a hazy inconvenience, it's a silent killer. Silently robbing us of our health, our future, and of our dreams. But what if I told you there's a unique, readily available solution, one we can implement today to significantly improve this crisis? My name is Akshay Chawla, and around 10 years ago I was part of the very first TEDxEMWS event right here in Ecole. And I'm back here a decade later to share a journey from an ex-Ecolite's curiosity about this problem to building a government-backed company that's tackling it head on. So without further ado, and just by a show of hands, how many of y'all are familiar with what stubble burning is? Okay, fair enough. So stubble burning is the practice where farmers burn their leftover crop waste after harvest. Now this can include everything from sugarcane residue all the way to rice stubble. It's a widespread practice happening across our country. And while it may seem like a very localized problem only affecting the rural areas where the farmers are burning this stubble, the reality is far more pervasive. Winds such as land and sea breeze carry this pollution across, impacting even major cities such as Mumbai, worsening our respiratory illnesses, causing us to take those sick leaves, and in general, making it one of the main causes of air pollution in our country today. In fact, the smog outside is the reason you and I can't see beyond a very few kilometers in our own city. And while some of us may overlook this, it seriously is a major crisis affecting us all. Now, before I talk ideas and solutions, I'll share something about myself first. Many of you all know the thrill of competition, the dedication it takes to excel on the field, the court, or even the track. And I was one of those athletes right here in Ecole. I poured my heart and soul into football, achieving what I still consider to be some of my favorite achievements, like winning the most number of top scorer trophies in a year, or winning a Harley Davidson motorcycle while I was in the 8th grade sitting in those very chairs for the sport. And guys, I hope you all aren't too young to recognize the man who's signing my jersey here. Yes, it's exactly who you think it is. So my point is, this sport meant a huge deal to me. And while I felt the pride, the camaraderie, and the relentless pursuit of victory when I played this sport, something eventually changed. The air quality in our country began to affect my performance. Those victorious moments on the field were marred by increasingly frequent shortness of breath, reminding me that even some of the most dedicated athletes cannot escape the impact of air pollution here. And it's a very open fact, guys. How many of y'all can name 2 Indians playing in the Premier League today? Or in any of the top 5 European leagues today? Now, while this can also rely on other factors such as skill and physicality, it's a no-brainer that with a boosted lung capacity and better stamina, we would have much higher chances to play in these very leagues. And that sparked a burning question for me as to why isn't anyone doing anything concrete about the air pollution in this country? And further, is there anything I can do myself? So that's where my entrepreneurial journey began. And before anything else, my first and foremost lesson is identify what genuinely piques your curiosity. What keeps you up at night? And what problem are you like itching to solve? So for a young athlete like me, it was clearly these alarming air pollution levels, because that's what got in the way between me and my passion. And while I already knew what stubble burning was, I now wanted to find out why it was happening in the first place. So after multiple interviews with farmers, I came to a conclusion. It's not entirely their fault, because they said they have no alternative to it. But their response gave me a very clear problem statement, which is find an alternative use for agricultural waste. And guys, just after a little basic research, I discovered what biomass pellets were. So this is a green alternative to regular coal, and it's made from the very same agricultural waste that the farmers are burning in those open fields. And when you burn this green coal, you actually get the same calorific value as regular coal. You get 1/4 the ash content, which is brilliant news. And most importantly, you get to provide those farmers with an alternative for their agricultural waste. So what was the catch? Now, this green coal costs slightly higher than regular coal, and it needs to be made to a very specific standard to work efficiently. But the good news is, the government has now launched a mandate that states every single thermal power plant in this country has to use a minimum of 5% green coal in their facilities. And since green coal can be burned alongside regular coal, it created that demand for the product. Now, just out of curiosity to test this concept, I approached a sugar mill beside Pune, and instead of demanding access to their waste, I offered them a small fee to collect it, just to make sure both parties win. Because that is crucial when you're penetrating an environment where you are the outsider. So either ways, I set up a very small pelleting machine around 20 minutes away from their premises, and within weeks we had utilized the waste they had piled up and were producing these high quality pellets. Now, the reason I said it was a win-win was because they had their waste removed, I had my raw material, and most importantly, a working model to prove this concept. Now, the image you see here is what a pelleting plant looks like. And it's very ironic because that is my very first pelleting plant from back in the day. And as a young entrepreneur, I did get a little carried away with the initial success, meaning I did what every other youngster would: go out, buy a new car, go party a little, enjoy your life, whatnot, until I started asking myself a few questions. Am I really doing enough? Because initially, I had set out to solve the air quality for an entire city. How can I just be happy with that? Is this one small plant all I aspire to be? Can I scale this? If so, how? So that's where the presidential rule came into play. Now guys, this is a rule that I've created myself, which I'd like to share with you all, because if someone shared it with me back in the day, it would have saved me 2 years of my journey. So what the rule states is, if you have a large-scale national problem such as this, then you're allowed to think two things. The first, you have an unlimited budget. Second, you have unlimited connections. What are you then going to do to solve the problem? Now, while this will not give you an instant solution at the top of your head, what it does is, it helps you access that part of your mind where you're able to think of large-scale ideas without any restrictions from the system. So with just this thought, I drafted a proposal to one of the largest organizations in our country, known as the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, sharing the very obvious and logical fact that if we could set up multiple waste collection facilities across Maharashtra where the stubble burning was taking place, for a biocoal operation, we could then directly influence the air quality on urban cities such as Mumbai. Now, the first time I presented this to them, they said, great concept, please come again next week. A more senior official and his team would like to hear this presentation. I come in that next week supercharged and optimistic, thinking I'm going to actually get something this time, only to be told the exact same thing again, which is, you're up again next week. Now this whole process of just giving pitches and presentations went on for 2 long years. 2 years of me explaining how this is a win for their organization and for our state. And just when I thought I'm at that tipping point, I'll just keep quiet and be happy with my one plant and probably move on. In the year 2019, I received an official letter of collaboration from the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board to set up operations at 155 locations across our state, all with permissions and support directly from their head office. Now, for a small-scale startup like mine, that was a huge deal. And it separated us from the rest when we approached the banks for funding, which is why, guys, in the future, when you all plan to take your startup to that next level and you seek the funding to do so, try to keep these 2 things in mind. Build your credibility first with a working concept. And the second, partner with an already reputable identity or organization which will differentiate you from the rest. Now, today I believe our vision has gone further than what we initially set out to do. We're not just producing pellets, we're transforming lives. We've created numerous jobs for our farmers, given them an additional income for their stubble, and significantly reduced the amount of stubble being burned across Maharashtra, all while giving those farmers that alternative. And it wasn't until the year 2023 that work like this has finally started getting noticed. We were one of the only 7 stalls in a 350-person event held by the second largest power production company in the country, known as Mahagenco, for supplying this green coal to thermal power plants. And it was just in December 2024 where we got ranked as the top 10 bioenergy startups in the entire country, which not only brought a lot more exposure to this type of vision and thinking, but also to this underspoken yet promising bioenergy industry that has always stood for more than just business. And as I take your leave here today, guys, the 3 things that guided my journey, which started right here at Ecole, are: let your curiosity be your compass, build those win-win partnerships, and unleash your limitless potential to think. Aspire to be more, because if any other mortal can do it, then why can't you? Thank you so much.